Hello everyone, welcome to the Angel Rewatch, a spoiler-free retrospective podcast on Angel. I'm William.
And I'm Derek, and this is a podcast for Belonging, originally airing May 1st, 2001, written by Sean Ryan. The Angel investigation crew is out to dinner at a fancy restaurant celebrating Cordelia getting a Nashville commercial. Everything goes terribly wrong, though, as Angel confronts a woman thinking her shawl is made out of baby skin, and Cordelia has food visiting right on the restaurant floor. The good times keep rolling as Wesley calls his father to wish him happy birthday and gets treated to a walk down memory lane of all his failures. Angel goes to visit Cordelia at her commercial to get more information about the demon they are trying to find. The director of Cordelia's commercial turns out to be every small-time director in L.A., a huge sexist prick. While Cordelia silently takes his criticisms, Angel threatens him. The director is unfazed, refuses to apologize, and is an even bigger jerk to Cordelia. Cordelia, angry with Angel, tells him to leave. Back at Hyperion, two members of Gunn's gang come by. They tell Gunn that they have vampires trapped, and they've already done all the work. They just need Gunn's truck. Gunn's about to go with them, but Angel arrives back. He's found the demon's location, and Gunn goes with Wesley and Angel. He tells his friends to wait for him to attack the vampires. While Wesley, Gunn, and Angel go hunting, a portal opens in Caritas. A demon bursts through a bit as the host sings a number. Oh, and Cordelia's director gets even more awful. Angel and Wesley come back to the Hyperion to find Cordelia. She says she can't believe that she had to go through that whole humiliating experience. She just wanted to be an actress and for people to like her because she was good. The host then shows up and frankly tries to get the trio to go kill a demon that came through the portal. Though he seems to know a lot about it, he won't come clean. Cordelia has a vision, though, about some girl being sucked through a portal at a library, so that takes priority. Gunn has to meet up with the gang, and he discovers that one of them has been bitten. He tells them that they should have waited for him. They tell Gunn that they have been waiting for him for months. At the library, everyone finds that the girl in question is named Fred and has been missing for 5 years. She went into the foreign language section and never came back out. They all go, and Cordelia finds a book she saw Fred reading in her vision. She tries to read from it despite the lack of veils, and another portal opens. A green-skinned demon armed with a sword jumps out and begins attacking Angel until he notices the host. The host, who we can now call Lauren, and we can all just pretend that we have been doing that for months anyway. The demon named Landok is Lauren's cousin, and Lauren has been missing from their dimension for quite a while. Apparently, Lauren was a bit of a black sheep in his family, and no one really messes him. It also turns out the demon came through this portal in Caritas just happened to be from their dimension as well. So together, Landok, Lauren, Angel, Wesley, and Cordelia go after the demon. Lauren describes his home to Angel and how he never really belonged there. And it just so happens to sound like Angel's idea of heaven. Landok tracks down the demon, but he's quickly bitten. Lauren tells everyone that the bite is mortal to their kind, and they have to get him back home if he hopes to survive. The demon attacks Wesley and is about to bite his head off when Angel comes from behind and kills it. Lauren takes the injured Landok back to the convertible with Wesley and Angel in tow. Cordelia has been reading Fred's book from the library. She tells everyone she knows how to send Landok home. He just has to read from a book from where they know a portal is. She doesn't know how she knows, she just knows and asks them to trust her. They do and everything works out. The portal opens, Landok goes through, and it's time for celebration. Until everyone looks around and sees that Cordelia is missing. She wakes up in a sunny, woody area the portal has sucked her in, too. And that's the end of our episode.
We can call him Lord.
Mm-hmm. No, we pretend that we haven't been calling him Lord since he was introduced and cutting it out of the podcast.
Yeah, well, it's been mostly me. I have a bad habit of saying Lord.
Well, it's frustrating to call him the host and pretend that we don't know his name is Lauren when Lauren is a much more recognizable name than the host.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that they spent like a whole season with this character, and they didn't give him an actual name until just now.
Well, I think the host works for... I think we only call him Lauren because I don't think it's a spoiler to say that Lauren becomes a quasi-member of Angel Investigations from this point. But calling him the host seems to fit his role on the show. Before this, I think they've recognized that because he doesn't really have a backstory, Lauren is more of a character than the host. The host is an idea.
Right, and there's something a little more mysterious about the host, like that name, and like you said, like everything that he kind of represents early on as this kind of figure that they can go to.
You don't have to build a backstory for the host. You have to build a backstory for Lorne.
Right. So it was pretty cool getting a little insight to his backstory and where he comes from. I like every time they have Lorne on screen. There's just something, he brings in a different kind of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how they write for him, and him being kind of snarky and still witty. And come on, who doesn't love Stevie Wonder?
That was your takeaway?
That was my takeaway.
Honestly, I don't know why you wouldn't want to be called Credlonsworth of the Deathwalk clan. Just introduce that wherever you go.
Crevlonsworth of the Deathwalk clan. I love how he bows every time.
Well, I really like Landog in general because just if this is what most of Lorne's family is like, it's pretty obvious to see why he escaped.
Right. I really liked whenever Landok was trying to sense the auras, and he's when he's wafting his nose or whatever.
Well, he's making his hand into a dolphin. This episode in terms of plot is pretty forgettable. I watched this on Thursday, and it's really just them searching for the demon whose name I can't remember, but that's just me. I don't remember demons' names.
Droga.
Droga, okay. So anyway, the plot is pretty much that anyway, but still I don't remember much of it because the plot is pretty forgettable and there's not a whole lot that happens in terms of moving things forward. What I will say, though, is I was actually sort of impressed how every single one of the big four got a thematic story that tied together their whole journey this season. And some of those work better than others, and that's not really a fault of this episode. That's a fault of how those characters have been used throughout the season. Because, Angel, realizing that there's a dimension that sounds like his idea of heaven, where he can just be a warrior and nobody talks about their emotions, and it seems pretty clear we're going to go to that dimension.
Well, with Cordelia being sucked up in there.
No, we're just going to leave her there. She'll be fine.
She just got written off the show.
Oh.
Just like Kate and Lindsay. She wasn't working. We're just going to leave her there.
Don't you even joke about that. And Wesley having a lot of confidence issues about if he's actually qualified enough to be a leader, which I appreciate because that's what I've been saying all season. That he hasn't earned his leadership position. If he I certainly want to talk to him the way I'm assuming his father talks to him, because we only get one side of the conversation. But I do like that they're going to at least justify why he's the leader, or he's going to struggle with that. And then Gunn is probably the weakest because his gang has never been characters, and it's not surprising to me that they feel abandoned by Gunn, because when is the last time we saw Gunn with them?
Right. I do like that they had some continuity by keeping the two guys that we saw in the Thin Dead Line.
Sure, but there's no defining characteristics between them except one is slightly better looking than the other, and the ugly one dies.
You can't still. I can't remember their names.
No, I can't.
They mention their names, but there is something very forgettable about those characters, and they only are there to service as bouncing off of Gunn to just show how much of a divide that's happened.
What happened to Chains? That's the real question.
He got his own spin-off with his flamethrower, okay? That's what ended up happening.
If it was Chains that died, I'd be in tears right now.
He was his right-hand man.
Yeah, but he got bumped to the wayside, apparently. Maybe he died in between Season 1 and Season 2.
Well, it seems like Gunn's gang doesn't have a very long lifespan, anyways.
No, probably not. The question is, for me, though, I mean, this is why I think it's the weakest. Where is Gunn sleeping?
No, yeah, I have no idea.
Because
and that kind of
he hasn't been around for months, then where is he going?
He's secretly sneaking into the Hyperion and going to one of the empty
rooms. They don't have enough rooms.
Right.
Well, that's when for the majority of the season, they were on speaking terms with Angel.
You know, that is kind of a problem with Gunn as a character. Like when you think about characters, like good characterization of characters that we have, you don't ever have to like think about that. You just kind of get a sense of what they do when they're not on screen. Like I can still get a sense of what Wesley and Cordelia and Angel do in between scenes, or when they're like not on the episode. You get a sense of what their life is like, but you don't get that sense with Gunn.
I think I had that sense when it was clear that he was still a part of his gang. Now he's not, so I agree with you that they haven't decided what to do with him. They've clearly decided to separate him from his gang and make him more involved in Angel investigations. What he does in between, when he works his other job, that who knows what that is, because he doesn't get paid for being in the gang. But so there is, you can't imagine Gunn's other life now if he's not a part of that gang.
Right. Do you find that story entertaining, the tension that's coming up between him and the gang?
If I found it entertaining, I would have to think that is his name Donnell? I'm going to call him Donnell, even if it's not. It sounds about right.
It does sound about right. No, it's George and Rondell.
Rondell. See? Close. All right. So Rondell's the one that's alive, right? They kill off George?
I think they kill off George. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, they kill off George.
Let's say they kill off George.
They kill off George.
Anyway, if they were real characters that I knew, then I might feel something in their confrontation. Like, it's well acted. I get a sense of history from their acting, but do I have an emotional connection? No. Right. I mean, we have to talk about which one's named Rondell, which one's named George. We can't even get that down. So, no, I don't. It's pretty. I mean, it's an obvious thing to do because he hasn't been around, and because that's the whole thing, that I can't imagine Gunn's other life besides Angel Investigation. So why am I going to be concerned that he's not living it?
What I did like about Gunn's story is, I mean, we saw in season 1 and even early in season 2 him in a very powerful leadership position. Like him commanding his gang, his troops, if you will. And now it seems he's gotten knocked down a few pegs.
Oh, we saw that in a Thin Dead Line, too. I mean, it's not terrible, I would say. It's just the weakest of those 4.
Yeah. But is that also just because we don't know Gunn well enough to begin with? Like the other 3 have a longer sense of history?
Probably. It's probably that. Because I think Gunn has the least to pull from.
Yeah.
Where also what they're doing with Wesley is they're really pulling from season 1 to create this story. I don't remember him mentioning his dad much this season. Maybe he has, but it was definitely in season 1 where that was seeded, that he has problems with his dad. And Cordelia, they've been doing this for the previous 3 episodes, and I think that's why I find it to be the best story, even more than Angel in some ways.
I would agree with you on that, mainly because it was able to make you feel the most uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, we'll save that. We can talk about Wesley.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I want to ramp up the Cordelia because I do think it's the strongest little thematic story in this episode.
Sure. I think with Wesley, I mean, they did earlier this season have like him talking to Gunn about his father and how terrible he was.
Because it's been mentioned enough that is clearly recognizable, and then once they get into it, even if you don't remember, it becomes pretty... I do like that we only get one side of the conversation, you understand everything, and then throughout the rest of the episode, Wesley's confidence is kind of shaken.
Yeah, I think that's something that they did really well. Because, I mean, for the most part, I thought Wesley had been doing a competent job, and like all of his decision-making had seemed pretty solid. Here he seems the most unsure of himself, and it really is related to that first phone call conversation we have. And only getting one side, you can still get a great sense of what that other side is and just how little
terrible person he is.
Yeah. And just how much they break down Wesley. And it's really impressive, like, Wesley's acting in that scene. Just one side. I really believed his performance. And just seeing his, like, face continue to drop several levels.
Well,
like,
it drops that he even has to talk to his father.
Right.
Because he just wants to put in the effort of saying happy birthday and talking to his mom to do that. And then she's like, I'm going to put him on. And then it's like, oh. And then it just becomes worse and worse.
I thought you'd be, he almost says, I thought you'd be proud of me. And it's like, oh.
And then throughout the rest of the episode, even there's that moment where Angel kind of gets up and does the Angel thing. And he immediately realizes that it was wrong and says sorry. But even then, that's he can't. It's not Angel's fault, really, but that shakes Wesley's confidence even more.
Right. It comes really natural to Angel, and it's not. It seems like it's not something very natural to Wesley, and the fact that he was already shaken.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he's kind of just the bookworm, and so But it's sad because you think about, like, even when he was a watcher, he was a terrible watcher, but he still did have that kind of leadership initiative. His confidence is so shaken by that conversation that it's infected everything else he does in the episode.
Well, Wesley strikes me as someone who wants to be a leader, probably because of his relationship with his father, but he just wants to make him proud. But the moment I think if Wesley feels confident in something, then he's actually competent and good at it. The problem is that his confidence can be shaken in a moment, and that's not a great quality to have in a leader. Right.
Like, even if things go wrong, then he instantly kind of loses his swagger. Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking back to the exorcism episode.
Yeah, that was the episode I was most reminded of, probably because I don't think it's the first time we get Wesley's problems with his father, but that's when the little demon kid starts imitating Wesley, right?
Yeah.
Because they haven't cast his father yet. And talking about his relationship with his father.
So it's been pretty interesting that they've been, like, even that far back, have planted the seeds of... it seems something natural about his character to give him that kind of history and give him that psychological profile that he would act this way.
Even back in that episode, I think we said that the fact that Wesley has daddy issues makes a lot of sense for who he is as a person.
Right.
Okay, so Cordelia. Because I don't think there's really much to talk about Angel, because they've spent the season talking about Angel, and we haven't actually got to the dimension yet, and I think that's where it'll open up.
Right, because literally Angel, the most you get out of Angel is him smiling about the thought of this world, and that's it.
So, that was awkward.
Yeah, really awkward.
Really just uncomfortable and terrible.
Awful
and just a terrible human being, the director.
It's impressive the level of hatred they were able to inspire in me.
It's impressive, and it's also completely believable to me that guy exists.
Yeah.
Because he's a scumbag, but he's a believable scumbag. Like, it's not... I mean, he is pretty over the top, because everything out of his mouth is just an insult. But I also completely believe that man exists somewhere.
I think he exists somewhere, too. I think it is a...
And he exists in L.A. doing that job. Like, I'm almost positive that's based on a real person.
Oh, God. I want to be Angel and rip his head off.
Okay, but what I really like is that Cordelia gets angry at Angel for sticking up for her.
Right.
Because it implies that she can't stick up for himself. But I also like that Angel holds his tongue an impressive amount of time.
Right.
Because he does give her the buffer to yell at him herself, and she doesn't, and that's when he steps in.
Yeah, I really like later in the episode when Angel's talking about the incident, and he's like, and she just, the worst part, she just kind of sat there and took it. When has she taken crap from any of us? Like, it was so
never,
not
Cordelia. The day after, never.
Yeah. It's a really good line. It's so not Cordelia, and to see her kind of complicit it's so jarring and uncomfortable. It just added to how awful that scene made me feel.
Yeah.
Oh God, that guy is such a scumbag.
Well, yeah, he is. Well, I would also, not that the way he treats her is any way that any person should be treated, but what I did sort of like is that the makeup artist actually put bags under her eyes. Because before we've been told Cordelia is just a wreck, and she's just wearing like sweats, and her midriff might not be covered, and that means she's just like terrible looking and repulsive. But here she actually does have bags underneath her eyes,
right?
Which the makeup department that David really should have taken care of that. Now, the director hands it in the completely wrong way, and is just a terrible human being all around. But she shouldn't have those bags underneath her eyes.
Everything that comes out of that guy's mouth is just so infuriating.
Yeah.
And
especially, it's really infuriating to me that she's somehow in his light, so he wants her to bend over more on top of him. How is she not even more in his light at that point?
That
makes no sense.
I think the real reason is he's just trying to get her to bend over more.
Well,
so she's not really in still. Like, oh God, it's so unsatisfying because we don't get to see her like be Cordelia and like tell him off.
Well, I think she shouldn't be Cordelia in that moment because I really like when she comes back to the Hyperion, and I think this is kind of like the final nail in the coffin of Cordelia being an actress.
Right. We've been commenting on how she hasn't even mentioned it before.
Now, if she had gotten this break in season 1, this would be like the greatest thing in the world. She's not that excited about the commercial to begin with, and then she gets there and they just want her because she's attractive and not because she has any kind of real skill.
Right.
And then I think we're done with Cordelia being an actress. So it would be gratifying for her to stand up to him. And that's, like, she goes out in this big moment. But I also think that she can't. If she did, it would still kill her career. Yeah.
But
now she makes the decision to do it rather than just being forced out of the career.
Right. But it would still...
Even if she's making that decision to stand up to him.
But it kind of fits thematically with the show, or the episode, where everyone kind of has lost confidence and is kind of meandering.
Angel doesn't lose confidence. Angel just wants to go to this dimension and kill people.
Yeah, but he's the least characterized of the core and even the host. He's just kind of there. The most characterization Angel gets is actually in the bikini scene at the beginning.
And after the bikini scene.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there? I don't feel like there's... Oh...
We can talk about the host, or Lauren, sorry. Or did we already do that?
We already did, really.
Small extent.
The thing that I would say before we move on to feedback, really, is that this feels like a comic book in a way to me that it's a part 1 of 4, and it just feels like that because a bunch of things are introduced in this part 1 and nothing is resolved. I mean, it's obviously long. There's 40 minutes as opposed to like 25 to 30 pages. But we get a lot of introduced, and then we're going to go, and it ends on a cliffhanger. It just feels a lot like a comic book part 1 of 4 in an arc.
Yeah, I agree with that. With that being said, that can't help but feel a little lacking.
No, I don't think the episode really does anything wrong. It does the best at what it's trying to do. It's just what it's trying to do is not that interesting as a one-off.
Well, how did you feel about the Droka demon?
Is that the pig one?
Yeah, the cow demon, whatever it is. Super long arms.
I mean, I don't have an opinion about it. Do you have an opinion about it? It's something they need to kill.
It's something they need to kill, but
that's the one thing I don't. Okay, yeah, I do have an opinion about it. Because the one thing I don't like in the episode is that Lorne knows something about it, but won't tell them. And then, in between that conversation, because they didn't write... Because the conversation takes like a time break. So in between the conversation, we cut back to that demon killing people on the street, and then the conversation is like a couple more lines of dialogue down. And that didn't work for me, because I think it would have built more tension if Lorne is telling them that this demon is evil, but won't tell them why. And we don't actually know if the demon's evil, because the demon just comes through the portal and just runs out.
Right. Knocks some people over, runs out.
That's not necessarily that it's evil and needs to be killed. I think it leads to more tension if Lorne's telling them, you need to do this, but I won't tell you why, and we're not sure where his loyalties actually lie at that moment. As opposed to, we actually know the demon needs to be killed, and they're just kind of like, I don't know, you're Lorne, why aren't you, or the host, why aren't you telling us everything? And it's just, it's frustrating because you know that eventually they're going to kill it. And we just don't know why he's lying.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting if it was still more skewed as he knows something and he has some shady motives, like you need to kill this thing because it's tied to him, like his past or whatever, and he's still trying to hide that.
He wants Angel to kill Landok when he comes through.
Well, I think he says knock him unconscious.
Oh yeah, do your thing. No, he says it's clearly Rabbit. I don't know, maybe then he says knock him out. He says do your thing when he says it's clearly Rabbit. But I think the episode would have worked better. Until we meet Landok, we don't know why the host or Lorne is so distraught. Because he's obviously immediately recognizes the pig demon. What is his name? I'm not going to call it by its name because
the Droka demon.
It's dead now, so why do I care?
About the only thing that I liked about the demon is when they're in the maze or whatever, like it being on top and kind of skulking around, being super quiet. I thought that was a good shot. But other than that, I found there's only so threatening a cow demon can be.
Well, there's only so threatening a guy in an obvious suit can be.
Yeah, but they literally made him make cow noises.
I mean, I prefer practical effects to if that guy was CGI.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But still, it's obviously a guy in a suit with very long arms that he can't really control. The thing I would say about this episode, I'm going to use... So my screenwriting professor would call it, how do you get the audience to get their spinach or their exposition while giving them like a treat of whatever else? And I feel like this episode is a lot of spinach and not a lot of treats. Like how do you... He would talk about Jerry Seinfeld's wife who wrote a book about how... It's like it was his favorite story. He told it once in class. But anyway, she wrote a book about how to give kids their spinach while making something that they actually want to eat. So that's what you have to do with exposition, is to hide it into something that the audience isn't aware that they're getting exposition or getting things set up. And it's pretty aware in this episode, even though there's some funny jokes throughout, that this is a lot of spinach and setup and not a whole lot of exciting things are happening.
Right.
It's very plot heavy and not very character heavy.
But it's, at the same time, they're setting up the pieces, but it feels like you don't necessarily go very far.
Yeah,
like,
because it ends with the cliffhanger.
Right. Like, literally, that's the most that happens in the episode is Cordelia is now stuck in this dimension.
Mm-hmm. And Gunn is at a Viking funeral. Well, not Viking, because it's not where, but...
A Jedi funeral, you know.
No.
Would
you just reminded me of episode 1, and that's not... Let's move on.
No, just remember Return of the Jedi, and it's much better.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about much, because you got Ewoks, but let's move on.
Ewoks. Hold your roll, sir. Ewoks are adorable. And they take down the Empire, and that's bitching.
Nope.
Ewoks versus Gungans. It's pretty clear who wins that fight.
Oh, yeah, because Ewoks kill freaking people.
I know. Ewoks are ruthless.
All right, so feedback time. So first up, we have Joseph. And he says, I don't have much to say about this episode's plot. It was interesting to learn some more about the host, and I liked Wesley's phone call with his father. The rest of the actual plot felt forgettable. It feels like the show has a lot of patience building its better characters. We got a clue about Wesley's father several episodes and another one now, but the writers aren't hitting us over the head with it. Hopefully it will pay off. I like that Cordy told Angel off for trying to save her from the director, but I'm still not crazy about the amount of times that Cordy ends up in peril and needing rescue. To expand on my thoughts from last week, the actors are doing a pretty good job of playing the smart white guy with the plans, the street smart black guy, and an attractive woman who needs rescue, and they're bringing interesting wrinkles to those characters, but those are still the characters they've been given. Maybe if the show hadn't had such a problem with damsels early on, it wouldn't be so noticeable. Buffy reversed the usual script by making Xander the least effective fighter in the group, and by putting him in peril at least as often as Willow or Buffy, and also by making him a bit of a jerk. Between the headaches, mystical pregnancies, and now portal napping, it feels like the guys are spending more and more time saving Cordy. Let's go back to putting Wesley or Angel in peril just to mix things up. So, thank you, Joseph.
I feel like I'm going to disagree with this. Because I don't think they've used Cordelia well this season. But I don't think that she's been in peril. Would you say she's been in peril?
About the only time that it really became bothersome was when she got the third eye in her head.
Yeah, that is the episode that I feel like she's the most kind of object that needs to be saved. But even, I mean, the visions, to say that the visions are just her being in danger, I feel does a discredit to them. Because I don't think she needs to be... Would I have a problem with if Cordelia was going out with the crossbows every episode and shooting people in the face? Or demons, not people? No. Because more...
That actually sounds kind of awesome.
Yes. But to say that she has to, and that's the only way that she can be viewed as strong, I think, is a discredit. Because she has, to me, more emotional strength than any of the guys. Right.
And there's something... So there's a strength about her when she talks about helping the helpless. Mm-hmm. That you definitely get more out of her. When she talks to the people that they're trying to save, there's a strength that comes out of her that you don't get from the rest of the group.
Well, she has the most people skills out of them. Besides, I mean, Gunn can talk to people, but Cordelia has more.
It's more personal, I think. And something like last week when she was suffering from the visions, I got a lot out of that because of how she still stood up and like, no, I'm still going to do this. And they even do that a little bit here. Angel keeps going, you know, are you all right? Is there anything I can do for you? And she repeats why does everyone keep asking me that? Like, it's kind of ingrained in her to just keep doing this because it needs to be done. I don't know. I like the visions part of Corey. It doesn't have to be... I didn't come off as her being a damsel, but her getting portal napped, I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see where it goes.
It all depends on the context of how they handle that story. Because if they get there and Cordelia is just like running through the wilderness and demons are chasing her, or if they get there, I don't actually remember what happens, but if they get there and she's already saved herself, then that's a whole different story. Because, I mean, still, there's this Fred girl that I think she's going to come off.
We'll have to see.
I mean, who knows?
I think they can still, like, it's the Whedonverse. I think they're going to be intelligent. I think they're going to play on your expectations, and I think they'll do some clever things, because that's what they do. Now, season 1, arguably, they didn't, but it seems like they've had a better focus with season 2, and that it's felt more like a Buffyverse show.
I think in the last 3 episodes, they've used Cordelia really well. I think in the previous 16, not so much. So I don't think they really balance each other out. I don't think that they didn't use Cordelia well, not because she was like in danger and an object that needed to be saved. I don't think they used her well because they didn't know what to do with her. I mean, Wesley and Cordelia for most of the season were a two-headed, disapproving monster of all of Angel's actions, and then Wesley became a leader, and then they had no idea what to do with Cordelia.
Right. And it was only until they had this kind of the visions are taking its toll thing that they kind of figured out what they wanted to tell about
when
her.
Angel has come back, they have done... it doesn't make up for what they did for the previous 16, but I'm bad at math. Whatever. The past 3, they have really, there's been a through line of Cordelia, who Cordelia is now and how these visions are affecting her.
Yeah. So I feel like she's getting the most characterization because of how little they've done so far. So maybe it's just a feeling of, because we're getting characterization from her, it feels a lot more than the rest of the gang.
Yeah, they've kind of given her more in these 3 episodes than they gave Wesley or Gunn in the entire season. Right, but
this episode still tries to give everyone development. I mean, minus Angel, but...
Well, Angel has had enough.
Right. Like,
stop being greedy.
It feels like his arc has been kind of wrapped up after the whole sleeping with Darla thing.
Yeah. But we're definitely getting more... Because, I mean, if he goes to this dimension and his whole big thing has been struggling with his emotions and his feelings.
Right.
We're going to a place where he wouldn't be expected to do that. He can just kill people.
It's all black and white. Mm-hmm. No one talks about their feelings. It's all
so I think the Angel thing will come back. What I would also say is they're picking up on the smallest thread for this, but the fact that they're finding a thread, I appreciate to make it a finale, because I don't remember this arc being anything more than fun, and it might end up being just like a fun arc. But there's a thematic kind of tying together where Cordelia is dealing with a vision. She's decided at this point she doesn't want to be an actress. Gunn is struggling with his identity of who he is, if he's part of Angel Investigations or he's part of the gang. And Wesley is struggling with his identity. The whole season has been about identity in a way. Yeah. Angel's been trying to find out who he is, and now the other 3 are going to decide who they are.
And it feels good to give them the spotlight. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a need to develop the rest of the gang. I mean, they wouldn't have, in a worse show, they wouldn't have to.
No, they would have.
They would just ignore it and then just focus on Angel because he's our hero. But I appreciate that the show is willing to take the time with them, even if it doesn't work 100%. Mm-hmm. Like Gunn, for instance. But I think they're still... I appreciate the show that they're actually taking the time to do it, and I'm hoping it continues to pay off.
I mean, this season has been about identity, and even with Kate and Lindsay now, have those 2, I would say, even more than Gunn, have not been exactly successful.
Well, yeah. I mean, at least with Kate, it wasn't the fault of the 2 episodes that we got with her. It was just
more
the fault
than
that
2.
Well, I can only think of the Thin Deadline and...
She was in the Shroud of Ramon. Which is when she just... So before the Shroud of Ramon, she's like, oh, Angel's evil. And then Angel bites her, but then whispers in her ear for whatever reason, even though he's evil, and that shouldn't be even, on his mind. He shouldn't be able to do it. Whatever, fine. horrible episode. And that's when she turns the corner. And then she's in Reunion as well. Kate's in a lot, actually.
Well,
so Kate comes back, and then she reverses, and then she comes back. Yeah. So she's just Kate. Can't make up her mind about who she is. And
well,
Lindsay's
after
Lindsay.
Well, after the Shroud of Ramon, like they went, okay, so maybe we need to like her again since she's going off the show.
And then she committed suicide.
Yeah, so it wasn't it wasn't those episodes' fault. It was all the previous baggage that she'd had from the previous episodes of how terrible she had been.
Mm-hmm. And there's this clear through line with Lindsay. He's just Lindsay.
Yeah.
All right. So next up we have Cam, who said, quick thoughts on Belonging. For the most part, I like this. The juxtaposition of two different types of fantasy world really worked and led to some nice, funny moments. And who doesn't love more Lauren? But here's my gripe. Does it really count as a criticism of the sexualization and objectification of women, particularly in Hollywood, when we are encouraging your audience and your main character to ogle a woman the same way? Beyond that, this was a lot of fun. And then he gave it a 71 out of 100. And he says he has this theory about why Wolford and Hart did what they did with Lindsay, but it's going to have to wait, and I'm not sure what that is. And I'm not sure how long we're going to have to wait.
I'm not sure either.
I mean, no one has taken my challenge of defending him, so I'm just going to assume no one likes him.
Well, Kanem tried last week.
Yeah, but before my challenge was issued, no one has done. There's been no post my challenge being issued that anyone has taken up the mantle of defending Lindsay. So I'm still
It's going to be like a season down the line, and after we've already forgotten about him.
It'll probably be in like season 5 somewhere that someone will just decide that now's the time to promote why Lindsay's amazing.
And we'll, by that time we'll find a new whipping boy.
Oh, yeah, we will. Anyway, so talking about the audience,
objectification.
Yeah, because I mean that's the bulk of Caden's comment. So, what do you feel about that? Because I don't think the audience. Because, okay, so what I will say is when Cordelia takes off the bikini, it would be a lie to say she doesn't look good. And then they immediately make you feel as guilty as possible by having her be objectified and terribly treated.
Yeah, and it's not even like they do the joke after that with.
See, I don't like the joke after.
But what they do right after that joke is go back to making you feel terrible. Mm-hmm. Like they give you a double take of you getting to feel really bad for how they treat Cordelia and just of because she does become an object.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the joke really because I don't think it's funny. I mean, that would be my problem with it. Also, the fact that I like that because when Angel like trails off and starts to think about it, and then they have a shot of Wesley kind of looking him from the side and kind of smirking, and that is all I will say about that, because Wesley seems to know a lot more about Angel than Angel knows about himself at this point. And I'm just going to leave that there. The fact that Wesley and Gunn then also ponder about it feels a little bit cheap humor to me.
Yeah, it feels a little immature and childish.
Because I just don't feel like they think of Cordelia in that way at all.
I think there's something really boyish that comes off in that joke.
Mm-hmm. It's just immature.
It's immature, which I don't necessarily have a problem with because those guys can be immature, and we've seen Angel be really petty, especially last week.
Vampire in the world,
right? Like, so he can be really immature, and that's why the joke wasn't terrible for me. But I can definitely see why Kanem kind of had a problem with it. But I think the episode does actively shame you for objectifying Cordelia.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, she does look good.
I mean, that's just an
feel terrible for
if you don't think Cordelia is an attractive person.
She looks beautiful. She is, and then it's just awful how she gets treated. So they give you like the double whammy of, oh God, I really want to kill that director.
Mm-hmm. Well, don't go to LA.
Oh God, and like they go back to him and they make you go through it
I
again
don't know
with
if
the bending
going
over
back,
thing.
I mean, I guess going back to him kind of facilitates the next scene where she just becomes humiliated. Because the first scene is just like Angel is kind of out of line. Not kind of. I mean,
Well,
he's
sort of out of line.
I can see why Cordelia gets mad at. It's more that Cordelia gets mad at him for stepping in for her than. That's because that becomes what that scene is about, as opposed to the director's a terrible person. So then we have to go back to just really cement that he's just the worst.
Right. Angel tries to white knight the situation. Yeah. Or like defend her honor.
Mm-hmm. Apologize to her.
I don't know. It's at some point, like, that guy was such a dick that you're like, yeah, apologize to her.
No,
I really wanted to see Angel punch him in the face, but that's why I have a problem with this episode. I didn't get enough of that director getting punched in the face.
Well, I don't think Angel should. But if anybody's punching him in the face, I don't think it should be Angel, because I think Cordelia is right when she calls him out on it. That it's not his place to step up for her.
Right.
She can take care of herself if she wants to.
I really hate that guy. He needs to be eaten by the cow demon.
So do you hate him more than Lindsay?
Yes, but literally he was like the pure embodiment of misogyny. Lindsay,
I mean, I wouldn't say that Lindsay's a feminist anyway.
No, Lindsay's like that slow drip of misogyny that just kind of eases you in. But
Lindsay's kind of more real life misogyny.
I want you to give me every detail. Oh God, yeah, I'm so glad he's gone.
All right.
So next up we have Alicia, and she says, favorite scenes. I'm not cheap. I'm just old. I remember when a few bob got you a good meal in a tavern wench. You were saying? Getting a tan, not bursting into flames. Do you want me to rip that guy's head off? Because I can. I can do that. Just right off. Lauren singing and dancing to Superstition. I was dancing too. Angel, Wesley, and Cordelia's conversation about power walking. Lauren and the librarian both gasp at their conversation. Angel and Lauren's conversation when they enter the library. Lauren screaming and saying he's tempted to just show up tomorrow with Harry Potter. Just because I know him doesn't mean you can't knock him unconscious. Please continue. Clearly rabid. Do your thing, Angel. Angel talking about Bonanza was funny. There's that Death Clan thing again. Yes, we're cousins. Lauren and Landok talk when Landok comes out of the portal. What do you want, a medal? Lauren mocks me. Just the LA and me coming out, I guess. Angel saying, here, kitty kitty. That was fun. Lauren and Landok's conversation about Landok dying. Other. The first scene was good, but the end when Cordelia had food poisoning and threw up, I had to look away because I have issues with the sound. Poor Wesley. I felt sad about Wesley when he was talking to his dad. I forgot Cordelia was an actress. That director is a dick. The Droken is ugly. The best Angel setup for next episode. Made me want to watch the next episode, and I remember liking the next three. So, thank you, Alicia.
Angel, what I liked about this episode is they went all in on that Angel's old jokes.
Yeah, it'd been a while since they had gotten through with that. Like, it felt like, when was the last time we had an old joke from Angel?
I don't know,
I think, like,
honestly.
The second episode in the season?
You're asking me. There's a lot of jokes in the show. I can't pick one out.
Right.
But it has been a while since we've talked about that Angel who's really old. And I don't know. We don't really know how long Lauren has been here. He's definitely evoking an old Hollywood vibe, whether that's because he's been around since then or he just likes it.
Right. Do they mention in the episode any kind of time frame? Because
I don't think so. I think Landok says the only thing Landok says is his mother's been ripping up tiny effigies of him.
So, if they're still concerned about him,
I don't think they're concerned about him. They're concerned in the fact that they don't like him.
Right, but the fact that they haven't just forgotten about him suggests that maybe he hasn't been gone forever.
Well, we don't know how long these demons live.
I guess that's true.
I mean, it's not like Darla didn't see Angel for 50 years. It doesn't mean she forgot about him.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm even if so he's been gone for like 50 60 years. And we don't know exactly. So Fred went missing for 5 years. It hasn't been exactly confirmed that the time and space are the same in that dimension. And we have to call it that dimension because there's no vowels in its name so far. And Cordelia and Landok both pronounce it differently.
Yeah, the weird book, Can I Buy a Vowel?
So, but we don't know how. I mean, this is a really speculative, maybe useless conversation, but we don't know if time exists in the same way. Like, we know that Landok jumps through space when he comes into L.A., but we don't know if he jumps through time.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I really did like the Angel, here, kitty, kitty, kitty. They got to give Angel goofiness again.
Well, they gave Angel a lot of goofiness last week at Dead End.
And they've continued to do that. Like, this episode had a lot of downers. You feeling bad for Cordelia. You feeling bad for Wesley. You feeling bad for Gunn. And meanwhile, Angel just gets to be, like, goofy and immature and just kind of be there and have little funny lines.
But I still like that Angel... I mean, it's not that he's just there. The fact that Angel being petty and goofy and dorky never diminishes for me the fact that earlier in the season he left a bunch of lawyers in a locked room with Darla and Drusilla to let them die.
Right. That juxtaposition's really nice. And it's something that continues to be interesting with his character. But I like that there is that fun side of him. Granted, it's not the same kind of, like, when he goes, like, really evil. Like, when he goes to Angelus, he even has a sense of fun there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's interesting that that's still so much
now
part
you've made me feel really guilty for laughing at Angel being dorky because you're connecting it to Angelus.
No. See, Angelus is not a dork. He's still fun, but Angel is the dork. So it's the goodness in him that makes him kind of a loser.
It upsets me that we never got this side of Angel on Buffy.
No, because he had to seem so cool for a bunch of high school people. His high school girlfriend. Well, man, there's something so robbing the cradle there.
Well, I also think that they definitely have decided to do this on the Angel show as opposed to the Buffy show, but I think it also kind of works because I think a lot of how Angel comes off in Buffy, that he's quiet and he doesn't really talk and he's just so pretty. That's still the way he is on Angel. It's just that the quietness isn't because he's trying to cultivate a air of mystique. It's that he's a dork and doesn't know how to talk to people.
Right. I love the jump to this show because when you're on Buffy and you're viewing it through the eyes of Buffy, so it has that very high school teenage view, and how you could be like, he is kind of the, not epitome of cool, but there is an air
Angel
of
is pretty much the epitome of cool on Buffy. So right. Leather jacket, every scene he walks through the shadows. That's how he enters.
And, the one-liners or whatever.
Yeah.
But you get to Angel, none of that has changed, but you're now viewing it as the air of, like, what, a 20-something. Like, that's what most of this game is.
Angel's perspective. And Angel comes off as aloof. When Angel comes off as aloof in Buffy, it's that he's just so cool and brooding. When he comes off as aloof from his perspective, it's because he doesn't like being around people and they make him uncomfortable.
Yeah, but even, like, his one-liners and everything just feel a lot dorkier. Like,
yeah, because I feel like he has a book of them that he writes down.
Like, he's so proud of his one-liners.
Yeah.
And there's just something so machismo and over the top. Like, it's like he watched a bunch of Arnold movies and, like, yeah, this is going to be a good one.
Well, he likes his cowboy shows, apparently, because he's really happy about Bonsai.
Yeah.
Which I still think is the longest-running live-action show ever. Anyway, even though I have no idea who Lauren Green is.
Yeah, I don't either. So
So
Angel, continue to feel old, and people that know the show continue to feel old.
But yeah, It's just the fact, and whenever he's really happy with himself for telling a joke, really works big. Like when he's getting the tan and not bursting into flames.
Yeah, I mean, we've continued to talk about like Angel smiling being really effective because he's just usually so brooding. So even when it's like that dorky, haha, I'm getting oh god, yeah, it's really dorky. But there's just something. It feels so natural. It makes him feel relatable. So
yeah. All right. So next up, we had Alicia on Disharmony, who said favorite scenes: Angel saying Manitoban is a bitch, Angel walking backwards and falling after Cordelia gets a vision, Willow, Angel and Wesley bust into Cordelia's apartment, and Angel puts Wesley's crossbow down. Wesley getting angry at Harmony when she's chewing gum. Cordelia thinking Harmony was a lesbian was funny. Angel being dorky Angel, and the last scene. Other. I never liked Harmony on Buffy, but I like her on Angel. The first scene with Harmony, I kept noticing when the camera was on Cordelia, Harmony's hair was over her shoulders, and then when the camera was on Harmony, it was behind her shoulders, then in front, then in back. It was distracting. The actress who plays Cordelia, Charisma Carpenter, has a tattoo in her lower back, and you can see it when she gets up from the couch to get her coat when Angel and Wesley bust in. So thank you, Lisa. We've talked about Cordelia's tramp stamp before.
yeah,
Which I think she has gotten removed since.
no, she hasn't.
She hasn't?
No,
sure
it shows up. It shows up a lot. I don't know if it shows.
Since the show has aired.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have no idea.
Because she is on Veronica Mars first season, and I don't remember seeing it then. Which is right about the time that tramp stamps became really when tramp stamps probably got the moniker of tramp stamps. Because early 2000s, I don't think tramp stamps were viewed as the way they are now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with her tattoo. It's like they don't comment on it, they don't make it a big deal, so it just feels like it's part of Cordelia. And actually, it kind of works for who she was on Buffy.
No, I don't think. No, I don't. It doesn't distract me at all. I'm just saying, and it just kind of fits with the early 2000s, like tramp stamp in 2000 as opposed to tramp stamp in 2010 is a lot different.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm not saying, I was just kind of ballparking when How I Met Your Mother had a whole episode about Ted getting a tramp stamp. I don't know if that was actually 2010.
No, yeah, I guess it's true.
All right. Is there any, I mean, I don't actually think I like Harmony more on Angel. I feel pretty much the same about Harmony in both universes. And I don't like her.
On Buffy, you got her interaction with Spike, which was funny for that sake, because of how much...
Yeah, I never found that funny because he was really abusive to her.
Right. But there's also that kind of interesting twist to it as well.
Sure. I mean, I just
there was funny stuff. Like I do like the Wesley getting really pissed about the chewing gum.
Yeah, Wesley about to kill her because of the chewing gum.
But yeah, by the end of the episode, I'm kind of with everyone in wanting to kill Harmony. Yeah, I don't know. She's annoying. She was annoying on Buffy as well.
I mean, annoying is part of her charm.
Even when she was human, yeah. Like
I think she's best when she's used sparingly.
Right.
And the whole episode is kind of about her. In Buffy, she just kind of pops up in scenes. It's not like we ever get a Harmony episode that I can remember.
Right. There's moments with her that you enjoy the comedic beats of her character, but it wears thin the more you get from her.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. So scores and favorite moment.
Okay. So for my favorite moment, I went with Angel throwing the sword into the Drokademon. I don't usually go for the action bits, but I thought it was an interesting kill, and I thought it looked really cool.
Okay.
And maybe it's, yeah.
Are you done? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I was going to say, maybe it's kind of telling that that's the moment I went for, because I was kind of having to scrape the bottom of the barrel.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm going to say with mine, because I didn't really go. There's no real big moment in the episode, because it's so obviously a part one of 4 parts. But so I went with the power walking jokes, and I Especially Wesley saying that one of them had him because he disrespected his culture, which I just thought was brilliant.
Apparently I disrespected its culture by killing it.
God, that is just so...
I really hate this town.
Well, it's so perfect and so probably would have happened.
Yeah, they really paint LA in a terrible light in this episode.
No, I'm not just saying it's LA. I think it's any kind of super liberal city. Or anybody that's power walking, let's be honest. They're the worst.
It reminds me of they had a whole Malcolm in the Middle episode where the dad joined a power walk thing.
White.
And Walter White. And the main person was like the best power walker, but they like videotaped it and he was actually jogging. It was a really good joke.
Anyway, but speaking about Malcolm in the Middle, when this is a complete tangent, but whatever. There's the one GIF that I see on Tumblr where it's juxtaposed with Walt talking about Breaking Bad, about how when he was doing his thing that he felt alive. And it's the most he's felt alive ever. And so the thing they cut it with is, what's the dad's name in Malcolm in the Middle?
Hal.
Hal roller skating in a spandex outfit. And it's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, they mined a lot of good jokes from that. We could talk about this later. But anyways, so scores. I ended up giving this a 61 out of 100. It felt very much like a part one. It couldn't help but feel a little lacking. I just wasn't drawn into it as much as I wanted to be. There's still a lot of nice little moments, but overall, not a whole lot happened besides Cordelia is now sucked up through the portal.
Well, this is going to be pretty boring because I gave it the same score with the same reasoning, so I gave it a 61, so we don't have to talk about it anymore.
All right, and if you'd like to leave us some feedback, you can do so by commenting on the post at theangelrewatch.wordpress.com.
Or you can send an email to angelrewatch@gmail.com.
You can call our voicemail number at 206-203-3276.
You can go to theangelrewatch.tumblr.com to see all the reviews archived in the gifts of whatever episode we're watching.
We're available on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. While you're there, leave us a review. It really helps promote the show. You can follow me on Twitter at NerdGuyWilliam.
You can follow me on Twitter at TheComeForwardDoor.
And next time, we'll be reviewing Over the Rainbow, where the gang goes through the portal to rescue Cordelia.